How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this guy who was right over my left-hand shoulder. That is a rapper by the name of Meek Mill. Now, I know this is not a music channel. This is not a rap channel or anything like that. But we got to talk about this guy because this was a very big story. It involves some political stuff, has some political overtone to it. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court got involved. A judge is in question. A cop is in question. Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, was involved. The owner of the Philadelphia 76ers was involved. A lot of people were in this story. Now, to back up a little bit, Meek Mill is a rapper, of course. He had been locked up for the past, I think, 8 months on a probation violation. He was on probation for a charge back in 2007, which some people say should never have been to begin with, because one of the cops that testified against him in that particular case has later since been found to be corrupt, allegedly. I'll say that in quotation here because I can't say that for 100% certain or sure, but I'll link to information about that in the box below. So people view him as some kind of martyr, some kind of pillar of, I don't know, I don't want to say virtue, but somebody to look up to as, like, you know, it's almost like when MLK got locked up in Birmingham. That's how they look at this guy, Meek Mill. Although Meek Mill does not deserve that in any kind of way. He is a criminal. He violated his probation conditions at least 4 times, have been given a slap on the wrist each time. And this most recent time, the judge, who was a black woman, by the way, a black woman in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, whatever, gave him 2 to 4 years for violating the terms of his probation. Now, when he got released from jail, he was released early because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said that one of the cops who were involved with the case was found to be corrupt, and they threw his testimony out. So since he was a so-called critical witness, they said that the case against him to violate his probation couldn't stick. So they let him out after about 8 months of the 2 to 4 years. And right when he got released, the Philadelphia 76ers picked him up in a helicopter, and a helicopter flew him to the Sixers playoff game and had him ring the ceremonial Liberty Bell to open up the game. You had Kevin Hart there. ESPN is posting stuff, basically celebrating the guy, all these different things. And I have a serious issue with this because guys like Meek Mill are the problem in the black community. They are not the sole reason why we have problems in the black community, but they are part of it. I'll be speaking about this hopefully when I'm in DC this Friday, April 27. People like him are the problem. People that go to the penitentiary, deservedly so, and come home to a party, but guys that go off to college, nobody cares about. Nobody's asking about your education. Nobody's asking about your progress. Nobody's asking about anything positive when it comes to black men. But black men like this get uplifted. When I was a kid, if I looked up to Meek Mill as a rapper, I would have been looking at this and saying, hey, well, look, if I get in trouble, I can become some rapper, become famous, and then they're going to come get me. They're going to come protect me. And he must not have been in jail for any real reason, because look at what they're doing. You got white people, Bob Kraft, the owner of the Sixers, owner of the Patriots, respectively, coming out and supporting them. So I should be able to do whatever I want and get that same kind of treatment. I feel like this was done on purpose because they wanted to send a message to young black boys to, you could be a basketball player or you could be a rapper. You could be a criminal, whatever the case may be, we're going to have your back. But before I even get too far down the rabbit hole, let's look at this article and see what it says so you get more information about his background. How did we get here? Why was he on probation? What's going on with the cop? What's going on with the judge? Et cetera, so on and so forth. And the article reads, Meek Mill's imprisonment on the probation violation set off a flurry of legal appeals, criticism of the criminal justice system, newspaper, opinion pieces, rallies, billboards, and bus ads. It most certainly did that. A look at how the 30-year-old Philadelphia rapper, whose dreams worth more than money, won the Billboard Award for top rap album in 2016, ended up in a Pennsylvania prison roughly a decade after his 2007 arrest, and then rang the bell at the Philadelphia 76ers playoff game hours after being released. How did this all start? Now, we're going to go back to the original violation that got him on probation to begin with, which he has violated on numerous times. We'll go through those numerous times in a moment. January 07, Miller's arrested in Philadelphia, charged with assault, drug, and gun possession. According to a criminal complaint, he pointed a firearm at a police officer and was forcibly subdued. So let's just be clear here. He had drugs and at least one gun. He got charged with assault, and he brandished a firearm on a police officer and resisted arrest. This was all when he was 18. August 2008, Miller was convicted of drugs, including simple assault, possession of a controlled substance with intent to deliver, possession of a loaded weapon. So there you go right there. January 09, he is sentenced to 11 to 23 months behind bars, 7 years of probation. Common Pleas Judge Janice Brinkley says the term was, quote, considerably shorter, unquote, than it could have been. She wrote that the court wanted to give him an opportunity to turn his life around from selling drugs and instead focus on his musical talent. So let's pause right there. What do I always hear when we're talking about black men that get in trouble? Oh, if he was a white man, he wouldn't have got in trouble. He would be free, or is that in the third? The reality is that black men, especially in urban inner city areas like Philadelphia, they'll get lesser time on the more serious charge, because he got basically 11 to 23 months, of which he only served 5 months for, let's go back over it, drugs, illegal gun possession, assault, resisting arrest, pointing a weapon at a police officer, which may be the same thing as assault. 'Cause I think assault could just be like, threatening somebody, pointing something at somebody. Batteries when you actually beat them up or when you touch them. So for all those things, he only got a sentence of 11 to 23 months. Then if he did 11 months, that's less than a felony, if I'm not mistaken. You got to do at least 1 year for it to be a felony. But he only served 5 months. They gave him a slap on the wrist. They gave him the extended probation to try and be like, okay, look, this is going to be a chance for you. All you got to do, keep your nose clean. We don't want you to be out here selling drugs, getting in trouble. We see you got a rap career ahead of you. Go and do that rather than being out here in the street. That's what it was from the beginning. So I don't want to hear nothing about no racism. And the judge in the case was a black woman, but I digress. Releasing probation, June 2009. Miller is released from jail after 5 months and parole under house arrest. He is given permission to work, but is also ordered to earn a high school equivalency diploma and undergo drug treatment. So they're trying to fix him up. They're saying, all right, boy, you don't have a high school degree. You out here just, slanging and banging. Go get your degree and then get treated for drugs. So they're trying to fix him. They're trying to work with him. And I keep hearing that again. They say, oh, there's no rehabilitation. Well, they're trying to do what they can for the boy. But let's keep going. 2010 to 2012, on multiple occasions, he tests positive for marijuana and opioid use, but is not held to be in violation of the terms of his release. Now, I was always taught that if you are on some kind of probation, parole, or whatever, some kind of papers that link you back to the prison system, if you get in trouble for anything, any reason whatsoever, whether it be a dirty urine test, whether you jaywalk or whatever, back to the penitentiary, serve your original sentence. But I see here that that's not the case. Okay, you got weed and opioids, which I heard were Percocets. You got that in your system, but it's okay. We're just going to leave it alone. And that's over the course of 3 years from 2010 to 2012. But again, I digress. December 2011, he is found to be in technical violation for testing positive for opioid use, but is not jailed. Again, another break. 2012, after a court date is rescheduled several times because of Mill's unavailability and failure to communicate with his attorney. Basically, what that means is he kept not showing up for his scheduled date to check in with his parole officer, attorney, or whatever. The original judge, Brinkley, a black woman again, writes in the court document his travel outside of Philadelphia is suspended. So at this point, he cannot leave the city of Philadelphia. He just has to stay right where he's at. Not house arrest, but more like city arrest. You can't be doing anything outside the city. March 2013, he is found in violation of probation for traveling outside the city, but is not jailed again. Instead, he is ordered to enroll in an etiquette course to address, quote, inappropriate social media use and crude language in the courtroom, court documents state. Now, let's pause right here. Now, this is in relation to certain things he was saying on social media that were getting people in this case threatened with their life. I think more specifically, I'm talking about the judge, again, the black woman, Brinkley. He was saying things about her. It was certain things he was saying in his music about her. It's been all kind of attacks talking about she was trying to get him on a song. And it's also been said that they know each other from the past. Like they grew up in the same area. They know a lot of the same people. Allegedly, she was trying to get some kind of record deal for somebody in her family. It's some kind of convoluted story. If I can find that, I'll put that in the box. But basically, they were saying that she was biased. And since he didn't want to collaborate with her or somebody else, that she was treating him unfairly. But all I've seen so far is a bunch of wrist slapping. You get found with weed and opioid in your system, but you're not jailed. You violate the terms of your travel arrangements, but you're not jailed. I keep seeing, and then from the very beginning, she gave him a light sentence, a slap on the wrist, because why? I see you're a budding music star. We want you to be able to go out here and get going. And then by March 2013, he was already going. He was already having his career off the ground. So apparently what they did worked out well for him. But still, he doesn't appreciate that. He doesn't respect it. That's what's going on. And they're trying to attack her like she's a problem when in reality, he's the problem. July 2014, he violates probation again, this time for failing to report to his probation officer, making unauthorized travel plans, and ignoring the court's orders. He is returned to jail for about 5 months and given an additional 5 years of probation. See, they could have locked him up for a lot longer than that. They only gave him 5 months. And now, mind you, he only served 5 months of the original 11 to 23 month sentence that he had to begin with. December 2015, Miller's back in court for his fourth hearing for violations. Authorities say he didn't report to his probation officer, disobeyed travel restrictions, and submitted a sample of cold water for a urine test. So basically, this guy can't stay off drugs. He's trying to fake urine tests, all kind of crazy stuff. Cold water. You can't even produce somebody else's urine. A lab technician testifies that Mill told him that the sample was cold because he drank a lot of water. His then girlfriend, Nicki Minaj, testifies on his behalf. Mill's attorney says his work in the entertainment business makes it hard for the rapper to comply with orders restricting his travel. Sentencing was scheduled for February. February 2016, he's sentenced to 90 days house arrest and is required to do community service. And that's him right there, of course. Recent imprisonment, November 6, 2017, Brinkley sentences Mill to 2 to 4 years in prison for violating probation. She cites a failed drug test, failed to comply with an order restricting his travel, and 2 other unrelated arrests. One in St. Louis for a fight in the airport where charges against him were later dropped, and the other for reckless driving in New York City where he took a dismissal deal. Now, the fight in the airport, they say that 2 pedestrians were allegedly assaulted. Now, I don't know why the charges were dropped, but there is video of that. And if I can find that, I'll link to it in the box below. He was most certainly involved in the fracas. But if it's me and I know I'm on probation, I'm nowhere near that. I got guys around me that can handle that. Why do I need to be involved with that? If I'm a millionaire, if I'm a rapper, I have an entourage, I'll be like, look, you and you and you guys are going to be the goons. I'm not going to touch none of that stuff because I'm on probation. If I go to jail, then y'all can't eat. That's the arrangement, okay? And then about the thing in New York City, he was on a quad or something, popped a wheelie. I think it was on a video shoot or whatever. You just can't do that in New York. New York has very tough laws. So that's what that was. And then she is quoted, the judge that is Brinkley says, you basically thumb your nose at me, she says. That's exactly what I say, because again, he was given chance after chance after chance. But all of what he was given was pretty much ignored. It was like, whatever, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. The prosecutor and his probation officer recommended he not be imprisoned. Well, hey, it doesn't even really matter. You know, he's a celebrity. He has friends in high places. Like I said, Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots, the owner, the co-owner or the principal owner of the 76ers. These are his friends. You also got people like Jay-Z. I think he signed to Rock Nation. You had a guy like Van Jones go to Wendy Williams and other shows and speak up for Meek Mill, but Van Jones is also signed to Rock Nation, so he's just co-signing his co-worker. You understand what I'm saying? He has friends in high places. He's a celebrity. He's a millionaire. That's why he's getting so many chances, and that's why he has many people that are in his corner. Mill admits to the violations, but says yelling at him will likely end his musical career. I may have made a mistake, but I never had the intention of disrespecting you, he said. Well, it ain't just a mistake. You're talking about over and over and over and over and over again. You're giving chances from the very beginning in 2007 with a slap on the wrist. You're giving a chance. And then the opioid and marijuana positive test, you're not jail for that. Violating the travel restriction, you're not, no jail for that. You keep giving chances over and over again, and then it came to the point where it's like, okay, you got to go to jail. Enough is enough. Here's your wake-up call. November 3rd, 2017, fans, athletes, and fellow rappers take to the streets in Center City calling for Mill's sentence to be overturned. Yeah, this was crazy. You see the signs, rally for Meek. I saw that, and right when that happened, I was like, really? This will be going to rally for a guy who has been on probation for a long time, who keeps getting in trouble over and over again. And people say, oh, it's just minor offenses. Like, how hard is it to not do something like that? I've never been arrested in my life, and I'm older than he is. He's 30, I'm 33. I've never been arrested in my whole life. So how hard is it for him as a millionaire to stay away from that? Like I said, it's people around you. You have an entourage. You have so-called goons who will so-called ride for you. All you got to do is just say, hey, you and you, you're going to be the guy that's out there taking care of any kind of problems I have. I'm not going to go to jail, because if I go to jail, then I have to spend money on legal fees. And let's be clear, this guy has some monumental legal fees because he has some very good lawyers that were able to finagle a case where he was able to get out to where it got all the way to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. It doesn't happen by happenstance. You got to have some kind of media coverage, some money or something in order for it to go that far. Usually, in some cases, it's not like that, but that's usually how it is. You got a big case that blows up, it'll go all the way to a high court. All right. Civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton visits Mill in the Chester, Delaware County Prison. We had a very blunt talk. Sharpton says he is a bright young man. He's committed. And he really said, Reverend, if nothing else, let people understand what the system does. I mean, it ain't the system's fault. It's your fault, Meek Mill. You had ample opportunity to not go to the penitentiary. That's your fault that you're in there, or that you were in there. December 4th, 2017, Brinkley denies a motion to allow a 30-year-old rapper to be bailed out. She says Mill will stay in prison because, quote, he's a danger to the community. Mill's legal team asks again an appeals court to free him from prison. December 4th, 2007, Brinkley denies a motion to allow a 30-year-old rapper to be bailed out. She says Mill will stay in prison because he's a, quote, danger to the community, unquote. Mill's legal team asks again an appeals court to free him from prison. February 1st, 2018, Brinkley hires her own lawyer, attorney Charles A. Peruto Jr., says the rapper's legal team has been making baseless claims to the media about the judge's personal and professional conduct. That's what I was talking about earlier, where they tried to say that she was biased and she was trying to get him on a song and give her a shout out, all kind of stuff like that. These things were being said on social media, and if I'm not mistaken, in his music as well. So it was like a smear campaign against the judge so he'd be able to get a more favorable sentence and or media attention. March 14, 2018, prosecutors in Philadelphia say they are not opposed to the release of Mill while he appeals a probation violation sentence, citing concerns about whether his conviction will ultimately be upheld. They confirmed that the arresting officer was among those prosecutors from the previous administration try to keep off the witness stand because of credibility questions. They cite accusations against him by other officers and saying there was a strong showing of likelihood of the conviction being reversed in whole or in part. Now, here's the thing about that. They say that the so-called key witness in the case was corrupt, but there are other officers who say the exact same thing as a so-called key witness. So, this is just BS. This is just the people that have been paid off, in my humble opinion, people that owe favors. April 5th, District Attorney Larry Krasner informs the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that he would not oppose bail for Mill pending proceedings against him. April 10th, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and Philadelphia 76ers co-owner Michael Rubin visit Mill in prison. After the visit, Kraft says Mill incarceration makes it clear that we have to do something about criminal justice reform. Rubin says he believes the right thing will happen and Mill will be released soon. Like I said, when you have friends in high places, this is what happens. You get billionaires to visit you. If it was a regular guy, come on. If it was a regular guy, you think they'd be visiting him in jail? There's a lot of guys right now that are in the penitentiary that are innocent, that got evidence that they're innocent, but nobody comes visit them. You come to visit Meek Mill because you probably owe favors. You got friends that are hobnobbing and snoozing and stuff like that. People in Rock Nation, Jay-Z himself, Beyonce, whatever, whatever. April 11th, Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney visits Mill in prison. Quote, I think nationwide we need to look at how we handle criminal justice issues and how we treat people when they're younger and shouldn't follow them when they're older. They have responsibility to take care of child in this case, and better off doing that if he went to work, Kenney says. Well, here's the thing about that. It ain't that the system or whatever was following him, is that he kept messing up. The things that he were doing could have got him locked up even if there were no probation. You fighting in the airport, popping wheelies, using, opiate derivatives, being a drug addict. I mean, these things you're doing could get you arrested even if you're not on probation. And if you are on probation, you got to respect the rules of the game. You can't just do whatever you want to do, or say because one of the cops that were involved is corrupt, which got found out years later, that doesn't overturn your probation sentence. And that make no sense. And it ain't like he was a choir boy before he got locked up and he didn't do nothing. He was not a didn't do. Well, he is in didn't do because he didn't do nothing, but it wasn't like he was an innocent person. I mean, listen to his music. He speaks about what he did in the streets in his music. So it ain't like this is just, some type of Rhodes Scholar who got locked up for no reason. That's not what happens. In reality, he was given a light sentence from the beginning. It should have been more than that. He should still be in jail right now, but due to him being a celebrity, a rich person, he's not. April 16th, the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office says during a hearing, the drug and gun convictions should be thrown out and Mill should be granted a new trial. April 24th, comedian Kevin Hart meets Mill in prison and decries multi-year prison sentences for probation violations. He's doing good considering the situation. It's jail. You can be as good as you can be. His mind is right, blah, blah, blah. April 24th, the state Supreme Court directs the judge to immediately issue an order releasing Mill on unsecured bail. And then Mill walks out of prison into a waiting helicopter. And this is the image that kids are going to see. You know what? As I close, I want to say this. I don't even care about Meek Mill. I don't know him personally. I'm not a fan of his music or a hater of his music. I'm just saying stuff like this is what kids see. And I could put myself in a situation where I would look at this as a kid and be like, okay, he's getting all the support for being in jail, whatever, as a rapper. I can do the same thing. Maybe it's cool to, pop pills, use drugs, pop willies, just disrespect the law, almost threaten judges. Maybe that's cool to do. As a child, impressionable, that's what I see. And I feel like it was done on purpose to show a lot of young black boys and boys of other races and people in general that this is an okay thing to do, to be in probation and keep violating over and over again. But I'm done. That was on my chest. I wanted to get it off. So what say you? Do you think that the sentence that Meek Mill was given, the 2 to 4 years for the probation violation, was that just? How about the first sentence that started the whole thing, the 11 to 23 or 24 months? Was that appropriate? Should it have been longer? Should Meek Mill be in a penitentiary right now? How about Bob Kraft and the Sixers co-owner coming to his aid? What's going on with that? I don't have much more to say, but whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say about this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.